Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. We are here today um, with Response. And so we're doing a campaign that's called Rooted in Wellness. And so today's special is on social wellness. It's a social wellness lunch and learn. It's hosted by us, Northwestern Community Services Board Prevention and Wellness Department, and then Response of Shenandoah County. This Lunch and Learn is part of the Rooted in Wellness campaign. And so we're going to be promoting that campaign all throughout the year, this year, so 2023. If you missed last month's, you can check that out. We have it recorded on our YouTube channel. And to keep up with our campaign, you can always go to our website, which is www.nwcsbwellness.com. And so I'll put that in the chat also. But now I'm going to go ahead and return it over to the Response staff and let them share. So thank you guys for coming.
Thank you so much for inviting us to come and present today. My name's Jenna and this is Savannah, and we are with Response based in Woodstock in Shenandoah County. I'm hoping that most people have heard of Response, but I do often find that there are a couple of people who don't know who we are or what services we provide. So Response is Shenandoah County's agency that works with survivors of domestic and sexual violence. We're often commonly referred to as the women's shelter. And while we do provide shelter to women, that's a very narrow piece of what we do. So our hope is that each of you will have a better idea after today of who we are, what we do, and how we can partner with you. So it's impossible in this short period of time to name everything that we do. But if there's something specific that you are wondering if we provide, we're happy to answer any questions at any time. So, all right. So did you know, these are just some statistics. It often takes people by surprise to find out that our statistics are this high, right? So 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men are a victim of some form of physical violence in their lifetime. And this one shocks me. 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, stalking by an intimate partner. And that's just in the United States. And then 40% of female murder victims are killed by intimate partners. So that's a huge number. And 50% of youth that report dating violence or rape, they also report attempting suicide. So these are just some of the reasons why we are here and why we do what we do. So our mission is to help prevent the problems that are faced by sexual and domestic violence victims, but also helping people come through that. So working through that trauma. And we do that through outreach, advocacy, education, and our supportive services. So Response began back in 1980 as a grassroots organization. It was one paid position, the director. There was a hotline, and there were homes around the county considered safe homes that people could go stay at when they needed a safe place to go. Finally, in 1994, we were given some space at the county farm. So we had a 14-bed shelter and a little bit of office space. In 1997, the programs began expanding. So we had funding come through for a court advocacy program. Then in 1999, sexual assault services began. And then in 2000, 2001, we got some funding for youth services and prevention programs. So it took several years for that to all come through and to help us become who we are now. In 2002, we were able to purchase our own building in Woodstock. So we have an 18-bed shelter now. We have also grown from 1 full-time staff to 9 full-time staff. So that's pretty awesome that we've been able to do that. So a lot has happened over the 43 years, and the diversity of the services that we offer has just continued to expand every year. So what we do. So this is just a smattering of the stuff that we do. So painting Response as a women's shelter leaves out a lot of these services. We do house women and children in our building. We also provide safe housing, usually in the form of hotels. We're helping them identify other safe places for men. So all of our services are available to men, women, children. We are not discriminating on basis of sex or sexuality or anything like that. And all of these services are available to clients, whether they're staying in our shelter or not. A lot of people who are facing the impact of violence still have maybe a safe home. They're staying with family or friends, or they have been able to get out of the relationship and are on their own now, but still need help working through the longer lasting impact of that. So the services that are on this slide, they're not complete. If we see a need, we do our best to fill it or connect people with another group that is already performing that service. So we have a lot of allied professionals around the county and outside of the county that we connect with and can help facilitate services through them. So I'm going to just do a short overview of each individual program so that you have an idea of what each one looks like. So I'm going to start with our case manager. So she is the point of contact for most of our adult clients. She's the one who listens and supports them through their trauma. She helps set goals, and she provides any supports necessary to help them move forward towards achieving those goals. So she sits with clients as they fill out applications because they can seem really overwhelming. She guides them through creating resumes, helps them study for tests, apply for jobs and housing, just figure out what their next best steps are. So just about everything in this world requires birth certificates, a driver's license, and social security cards. Guess what tends to get lost in the hectic shuffle of leaving an abusive relationship quickly? Yeah, all of those: birth certificates, driver's license, and social security cards. And navigating the process of getting those replaced is just a lot to handle anyways, without the impact of the trauma. So our case manager is there to help in whatever capacity that she can with that. She ensures that they have clothing, food, safe housing, access to medical and mental health care, transportation, income, general support. And clients at all stages of leaving and healing need to know that they're not alone. So the case manager also leads support groups where they can come together and learn how to move forward after abuse and form connections with others. So it's a little bit of what she does. We also have a court advocate, and she acts as a case manager for clients who are looking mostly for help with the legal side of dealing with abuse. There's a lot of fallout from that. She is not a lawyer, does not provide legal advice, but she helps guide the clients through the court process, through meetings with the lawyers and victim witness. She attends court trials and court dates with them, just as a support, a friendly face sitting out in the crowd to help get them through that. She's also part of the sexual assault response team, which brings together members of law enforcement, the SANE nurses, and advocates to increase the positive outcomes for the victims who have experienced sexual violence. So that's part of the education component for the county. She also responds, when we're responding to domestic and sexual violence calls, it can be uncomfortable and tricky for law enforcement. A lot of them are not fully trained on that, or they're not really comfortable with that. So our court advocate has developed and taught trainings for most of the police departments in our county, as well as the dispatch officers. So the trainings help them understand how to respond in a trauma-informed manner, as well as how to best involve response if the victim is willing and looking for that support as well. And then we have our children and youth services coordinator. And this might look a little bit shorter than some of the other lists, but don't be deceived. She is on the go all the time. She juggles her in-shelter children, out-of-shelter children, and anything with the public schools. So she provides case management, so making sure that they have basics like clothing and shoes and food, helps them get enrolled in school and daycare, making sure that they have transportation, gathering school supplies. Sometimes it's helping guardians find medical and mental health care for the children. And again, getting birth certificates, social security cards, health records, things like that. And just like we have support groups for adults, she leads the support groups for the children of clients, as well as partnering with the county elementary and middle schools to help teach them social and emotional skills and healthy relationships. So she does a lot of that education. She also provides presentations for different age groups in the schools. So again, healthy relationships, the impact of media, self-esteem, things like that. And every second grader in the county is offered the opportunity to participate in the Child Assault Prevention Program. So it's a 45-minute presentation. It teaches them the right to be safe, strong, and free, and is designed to increase children's safety from bullying, abuse, and assault. And then the high schools, we have a really awesome club called the Teen Advisory Board, and that we sponsor that. So it's held in the schools, but our Children and Youth Services Coordinator goes in and helps teach them and guide them through activities to help them understand healthy and unhealthy relationships, and also how to respond to somebody experiencing abuse and advocate for others in the community. So the case manager, the court advocate, and our Children and Youth Services Coordinator provide the bulk of our direct services for clients. There are 6 other staff members, and we jump in and provide that direct service coverage where we're needed. So sometimes our court advocate has court in 3 different court systems at the same time. So we all will jump in and help out where we can. We all take shifts on the hotline. We do court and hospital accompaniment. We coordinate services. We provide transportation. And we always are available to listen and support our clients who are going through hard times. Can often find us hanging out with the kids. Sometimes mom just needs a break, or she needs to make a phone call or run to the store, and it's hard to do with a lot of kids. So we get to hang out with them too. So like I said, we have 9 full-time staff, and we are all here to help out and do what we can. So that is a really quick overview of each staff person and what we do and the services that Response provides. So now I'm going to hand it over to Savannah. She's our Children and Youth Services Coordinator, and she's going to talk to us about some healthy and unhealthy relationships.
Yeah, so like Jenna said, my name is Savannah, and the rest of this presentation is basically just going to give you a quick little snippet of the things that I teach in my presentation throughout the schools in our county. So although this is very short and sweet, there's a lot more that goes into it, but we just decided to highlight some very important things. So to start off, we're going to talk about the 10 positive relationship attributes, going at a comfortable pace, making sure that everybody obviously feels comfortable. No one feels forced. No one feels that they're being pushed into a corner and being forced to do something or be in a relationship that they're not ready to be in. Trust, making sure that we have faith and we believe in this person. Honesty, telling the truth. Independence, making sure that they are growing into an individual that they want to be and doing the things that they want to do and not really feeling dependent on someone else for their happiness or vice versa. Obviously, respect. Everybody deserves respect, and it's something that is very much the bare minimum in a relationship, but it's a very positive attribute to have. Equality, when power and control enters a relationship, that's kind of when it becomes from unhealthy to abusive. So it's important to know that everyone in the relationship has to have an equal status. Kindness, just making sure that you are offering kindness to the person that you are in a relationship with. Taking responsibilities. We all make mistakes. We all sometimes slip up. So knowing that you have to take responsibility for when you mess up rather than placing blame on the other party or some other factor. And then healthy conflict. Conflict is something that we absolutely cannot avoid. It's something that happens all of the time. So knowing how to deal with that in a healthy way is super important. And then obviously having fun in a relationship. So the 10 signs that your relationship may be unhealthy. So these are just things to like kind of look out for. So belittling, so making them feel less than, guilting them to do something or pressuring them, volatility. So that kind of looks like you don't really know what side you're getting. Like it's kind of the, are they going to be happy or is it going to be explosive? Just really the unsureness of everything. And deflecting responsibility, like I said earlier, so not taking responsibility for their mistakes or their actions and saying, oh, it's because of this, or placing blame somewhere else. And then betrayal, which is like lying or cheating. So something that I think is very helpful is to have these kind of visuals. So on one side, it's the equality wheel and the power and control wheel. The equality will obviously displays the things that we want in a relationship. So we want to have negotiations. We want non-threatening behavior. We want respect and trust and self-confidence and things like that. Whereas in the power and control wheel was developed to kind of show the different tactics and actions that people can use that are not just physical. Because a lot of times, especially in the past, if you were a victim of domestic violence, a lot of people did not come forward or were not believed if they did not have bruises and such to show for it. But we know now, and what we are trying to educate other people is that it's much more than just physical abuse. So recognizing that peer pressure and isolation and threats and intimidation and everything else on this wheel is very important to also know that it is a red flag and it should be something that you look out for if it's in a relationship. So when we talk about relationships, it's important to know that we're not just talking about people that you are in an intimate relationship with, right? So we have relationships with our parents and guardians. We have relationships with our peers. We have relationships with our friends. And obviously we have relationships with our significant others. So it's important to know that everyone that we are connected with, we have some kind of relationship, and all of those relationships can be healthy and unhealthy. So this is the relationship continuum, and it's important to know that there's things that can fall in the middle. There's things that could be on one side of the spectrum or kind of a little bit of both. It's something that could seem healthy, can turn unhealthy given the circumstances. So what we are going to do, if you guys know how to annotate a slide on Zoom, is I'm going to give you guys an example, and I want you to place a little emoji of some sort where you think that this example falls on the continuum. Do you guys know how to annotate the slide?
I don't think that I do. I can verbally respond. Will that work?
That's totally fine.
Because I think
So
it's
the
just
first
me
example-
and Amanda on here, correct?
So
And you
the
two
first
can
example-
answer.
The first example would be supporting you and your goals. So where do you think that this falls within the continuum?
That is a normal, healthy response.
Okay. So the next one is impeding on your alone time or always joining in on events.
It's your turn, Amanda.
Would you say that that would fall in like the yellow, the orange, the red?
I would say the orange.
Okay. Okay. And tracking the location and abusing power of having location.
Red.
Awesome. So the point of this is just to kind of understand that things can kind of fall in the gray area between healthy and unhealthy. So for example, on always joining in on events, if you share the same friend group, maybe that's not an unhealthy characteristic, but in other circumstances, other people can see that as super unhealthy.
I was stuffing my face and I just wasn't comfortable doing
You're
it.
fine.
So I'm done now.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. So again, all the types of relationships in our lives can be healthy and unhealthy. And obviously friendships is something that we obviously want to have a healthy relationship with. So what we want in a friend is someone who adds value to your life. You want someone who allows you to express your feelings, good and bad. You don't want someone who just wants to hear about your good days. You want to respect differences because being unique in our differences really should be something that's celebrated and not being put down upon. So understanding that you can have different likes and dislikes and values and beliefs and respecting that. And allowing for growth within a friendship as an individual. So allowing them to have other sporting events, allowing them to have other friends and other interests and stuff like that is super important. And then obviously mutual respect. Again, something that should be present in every relationship in your life is respect. So some barriers to ending a friendship at any age level, friendship breakups are hard and they do hurt, especially because they do know a lot about you, whether they spend a lot of time in your life, things like that, and letting people like that go can be really hard. And a lot of time committed to said friendship will be like a loss. It's something that you experience similar to other losses in your life. So red flags, these are things, again, to be looking out for, things that maybe you should think back and question, like, oh, is this something that I need to be enduring? Should I talk to somebody about this? So some of those would be extreme jealousy, isolation from friends and family, fear for safety, controlling, possessive, demeaning, and then tracking your location in a like stalking manner. So then again, like I said, conflict is something that we absolutely cannot avoid. So understanding how to deal with that is super important as well. Communication is the key to every relationship, especially a healthy one. So we like to teach safe skills, and that stands for the S stands for stay calm. You don't want to be yelling at other people, especially if you don't like to be yelled at as well. You want to make sure that the conversation is being said in a calm manner so everyone gets to be heard and say what they need to say. A is for ask questions. You want to make sure that it's not just a roundabout conversation. You really want to ask the questions to get to the bottom of things and to get to know how other people are feeling. Again, F is for finding out feelings. Just because you're experiencing the same situation or scenario does not mean that your guys' feelings are going to be on the same page. Something that might make you feel really embarrassed and upset might not be seen by the other person because that's not how they are feeling. And then exchange ideas for possible solutions. It's important that we emphasize the word possible because sometimes solutions that might be put on the table might not actually be possible, or it might not be healthy to kind of seek out that solution. So some tips for communicating about conflict is to obviously stick to the topic at hand. You don't want to be fighting and talking about and bringing up things from long ago or things that are not relevant, but really sticking to the topic at hand helps. And then take space and make space is something that I like to teach the kids. You don't want to really hold the conversation just in your court. You want to make sure that other people are able to be heard and their feelings and point of view are also put on the table. Reflect on your part in the conflict comes back to taking responsibility. If you made a mistake and you did something that's wrong, understanding that you can take that responsibility and not deflect it is super important. And limit the time spent talking about said conflict. You don't want to spend hours and hours about something if there's not a solution there. Maybe coming back to it later is probably what's best. And then after the conflict has been resolved, not bringing it up again. So if you come to a solution a couple weeks later, months, years later, not referring back to that situation, especially if it has been resolved. So reaching out. So what does it look like? Say you are experiencing this. Maybe you had experience in the past and you haven't really talked about it. Maybe you're a bystander or a friend that you're seeing it happen in someone else's life. It's important to know how to reach out. If you do decide to reach out or someone is reaching out to you, believing the person who's disclosing the experience is absolutely imperative. You do not want to victim blame, so believing them just right off the bat is probably what's best. Listen to what they have to say without judgment. I understand it's very easy to quickly judge people, but it's important to know that judgment is not needed in a space where people are coming to disclose about violence. Helping them find resources. Hopefully this presentation and maybe your own research allows you to find different resources within our community, within our state, within our nation. There's lots of resources that are being unused, and it's important to know what they are. Assist with the safety plan, but respect their choices. It's important that if the situation or the relationship is violent or it's volatile, it's important that safety planning is an option, but they don't always have to say yes to safety planning. Maybe they're not ready to leave the friendship or the relationship. Maybe they're not ready to get that help. So respecting that, if they don't want to do that, that's okay. And then remind them that they do not deserve the situation that they are in, but they deserve to be in a caring, loving, respectful relationship, because just being reminded that can be something that someone just needs to hear because they're not told that enough. So our resources for you guys to know and to share is obviously response. We have a 24/7 hotline, which is our number under that. Our support groups for adults and kids, that's very important to know. And then our website is underneath that. Our national resources, we have the sexual assault hotline and then the domestic violence hotline, because although sometimes we see that they are like one and the same and they are experienced by the same people at this and things like that, it's important to know that they are different resources as well. And then the Virginia Sexual and Domestic Violence Hotline, if you call the one at the top, you can have there's 200 languages available. I think it's very important for diversity reasons that anyone who is able to call should be able to call. And then the second bullet point under that is the LGBTQ hotline. So the people who are working that are specialized in answering those kind of and fielding those hotline calls for them and making sure that they feel comfortable. And then the last one is a text only number, because sometimes phone calls are not for all of us, and texting out our problems is something that maybe we feel a little bit more comfortable with. So if there's any questions, now would be the time to ask them. We added our contact information, our email, and then our positions. And then again, just wanted to highlight where our website was.
I did put the website there in the chat if anybody wants to save it.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
The first question is, do you provide services to, do you have a lot of male callers? You know, do you provide a lot of services to males? It's a rural area. You know, there's cultural things going on there with that. But I know that, you know, younger folk are more open and more comfortable with identifying things. So is that an increase you've seen in the population that you provide services to?
I wouldn't say that we get a lot of callers. You know, we get a couple each year. I mean, neither of us has worked here long enough to say like, oh, we've seen an increase over the years or anything. And I don't even know the general trends. That would be something I would need to look up. But yeah, we do serve a couple of adult males. I know you see more.
Yeah,
with
with the kids, for support groups. Every school that I work with, we try to keep it balanced. So for every girl group that we offer a boys group as well, because we don't want to have just the focus set on one group, because prevention is necessary for everybody. So we have several boys groups currently going on right now, because last semester was more girls group focused. So we try to make sure that everybody's having that conversation and that education.
And I think there is, I'm sorry, I think there's also a lack of education that abuse does happen to males. You know, I think that is something that gets skipped over. We're still assuming that, oh, only females can be the victim and only males are the abusers. And like that, you know, absolutely not true. Females can be abusers and males can be a victim.
Well, and I think that speaks to our spheres of power. So, you know, men, they have physicality, you know, so that's where they go. That's what they use when they're backed up in a corner. Females, our sphere of powers is emotions. You know, we've been allowed to express our emotions from childhood, be able to identify them. So if we are unhealthy, that's where we go, who we manipulate emotionally. So I think with, especially, you know, males, teenagers or whatever, they're just going to think, well, she's not hitting me. They're more likely to say that and not realize that they are victims of abuse. There is power and control, and it's utilized through emotional manipulation and maybe even sexual manipulation, because that's our power as females. And I should have prefaced this by saying, I worked many, many years for the Shelter for Abused Women in Winchester. I was a domestic violence coordinator. I've been with Winchester 14 years now, so I kind of went into a different direction. And that's why I asked about, you know, if the population of boys and young men has increased in regards to, you know, services and stuff, because it wasn't a lot back then. And, you know, I figured it wasn't, but I think that part of it is identifying, you know, that's abusive. So, and then the one more thing, and I won't keep you guys, is when you were talking about the different types of relationships we might experience, I was wondering why you don't have self, because the relationship we have with ourselves is very important, you know? So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that I could add on to my presentations. Like I said, this is something that I just kind of like took a small snippet from what I teach at the schools, but I think you bring a very good point to why we should add that. And because our relationship with ourselves, kind of like the saying, like, if you can't love yourself, you can't love others. And I think that is a very important point.
And I know that our case managers work a lot on that relationship with the self and self-esteem, because after you've experienced, trauma for so long, sometimes a lot of our victims come in not believing that they deserve to have self-esteem, that they are worthy of love. So it's, some of our prevention education is working on that self-esteem, because if we teach kids from young that they are worthy of that, then, they're maybe a little less likely to believe lies when they're encountered from external sources.
Right. Well, you all do wonderful work, and the presentation is amazing. The expansion of services in the field of domestic violence and sexual assault is impressive, and it's close to my heart. So, really happy to see that. Good work, ladies, and keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jenna and Savannah, for sharing with us today and letting us know who Response is and the services that you guys provide, but also educating us a little bit on what healthy and unhealthy relationships should and can look like. Thank you guys. And thank you, Donna, for showing up. Thank you for everybody who participated today. And so, like I mentioned, this is part of our Rooted in Wellness campaign, which is the campaign that we are doing for the year of 2023. Every year we choose a topic and a campaign that we do. And so this year is Rooted in Wellness. If you want to sign up for emails in regards to that, you can do that at the link. Sorry, at the link here. I'm going to put it in the chat. You can sign up to be a part of that email list to have updates that way. You can also follow us on social media at NWCSB Wellness. You can check out our website, which I posted earlier, and then click on the Rooted in Wellness campaign to find out and keep up with ideas for that. Every month we pick a different topic. So next month in March will be
Spiritual wellness.
Spiritual wellness, yes. And so thank you for that. It left my brain. We're going to be doing little clips next month on that. So we have like someone doing yoga, doing sound therapy. So just a different variety of videos and snippets on how to be spiritually well and taking different angles on that. And so you can check that out on our social media. Also, you can see this episode on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. So we'll be posting that in the next few days. I'll include that link also here in the chat. But thank you guys so very much for everything.
Thank
and
you.
You guys have a great day.
Thank you. You guys too.